Long before the rise of civilization, when glaciers carved through Europe and woolly mammoths roamed the plains, there lived a creature so majestic that ancient humans carved its image into cave walls. A giant among deer, its antlers stretched wider than a car, branching like the crown of a frozen forest. This was Megaloceros giganteus, the so-called Irish elk. Though it was neither just Irish nor an elk, it was one of the most awe-inspiring animals to ever walk the Ice Age Earth. But behind its beauty lies a mystery. How did such a magnificent animal evolve? Why did it grow antlers so large they seem almost impossible for survival? And what really caused this giant deer to vanish forever? Let's travel back in time, to a world of endless frost and roaring winds, to meet the real king of the Ice Age plains. Around 400,000 years ago, Europe looked very different. The continents were locked in ice, glaciers rolled down from the north, carving valleys and freezing lakes solid. In the spaces between the ice sheets, sprawling grasslands spread across what we now call Ireland, Britain, and continental Europe. These open meadows were home to mammoths, woolly rhinos, saber-toothed cats, and vast herds of grazing animals. But among them, one creature stood out like a moving monument. Megaloceros giganteus. This was no ordinary deer. The largest males stood over 7 feet tall at the shoulder, nearly the height of a modern moose. But what truly set them apart were their antlers, up to 12 feet across and weighing more than 80 pounds. Each year, these massive structures would fall off and regrow, a feat that demanded enormous energy. They weren't just ornaments, they were weapons, signals and symbols of dominance. Scientists believe that male Megaloceros used their antlers in the same way modern deer and elk do, to battle for mates and to display strength. During mating season, males would face each other across the tundra, heads lowered, antlers glinting in the pale Ice Age sun. When they clashed, the sound echoed like cracking wood across the frozen plain. Victorious males earned the right to mate and pass on their genes, ensuring that future generations would bear even larger, more elaborate antlers. But there was a cost to this beauty. Carrying such enormous antlers wasn't easy. Each step through thick forest or uneven terrain required strength and balance. The neck and shoulder muscles of Megaloceros were incredibly developed, allowing it to support the weight of its crown. Some researchers believe the species evolved to prefer open grasslands, partly because dense forests made it too difficult to maneuver with such massive antlers. Still, these antlers weren't a mistake of evolution. They were a product of sexual selection, nature's way of rewarding displays of power and vitality. Just as peacocks evolved extravagant tails, Megaloceros evolved antlers that symbolized fitness and survival. To the females, a male with massive antlers meant a strong mate, capable of enduring the harshest winters. Despite their size, these giant deer were gentle herbivores. They fed on a mix of grasses, shrubs, and young shoots. Their diet shifted with the seasons, just like reindeer today. They roamed in herds across the open plains, following the rhythm of the Ice Age, migrating with the melt, surviving on the edge of the frost. For thousands of years, Megaloceros thrived. Their fossils have been found from Ireland to Siberia, showing they were among the most widespread large mammals of their time. But their story also intersects with ours. Early humans lived alongside these magnificent animals. In caves across France and Germany, prehistoric artists painted their likeness on stone walls. To our ancestors, the Megaloceros was not just a creature of the wild, but a symbol of strength and spirit, a living myth. Yet like so many giants of prehistory, their reign eventually came to an end. About 12,000 years ago, as the Ice Age began to fade, the climate changed dramatically. The glaciers retreated, and forests began to reclaim the open plains. The great tundra grasslands where Megaloceros once thrived started shrinking. For an animal built for wide open spaces, this was disastrous. Dense woodlands made it harder to move, to graze, and to escape predators. The huge antlers that had once symbolized dominance now became a burden among the trees. Some scientists once believed that the species died out because its antlers became too large, that they grew themselves into extinction. But modern evidence suggests that wasn't the case. The real killer was climate change, compounded by the arrival of humans. As our ancestors spread across Europe, they competed for the same resources and hunted many Ice Age animals for food, bone, and hide. It's likely that Megaloceros, majestic as it was, became one more victim of the changing world. Still, they didn't vanish overnight. Fossil evidence shows that small populations of Megaloceros survived in isolated pockets long after most of Europe had changed. In western Siberia, remains suggest that the last of these giant deer may have lived as recently as 7,000 years ago, well into the age of human civilization. That means that while people in Egypt were building early settlements along the Nile, somewhere in the frozen north, herds of these colossal deer were still roaming beneath the auroras. Imagine standing on a tundra plain, watching a Megaloceros herd at dusk. The males lower their heads, their vast antlers glinting in the fading light. Their breath rises in clouds as they move through the mist. It is easy to understand how ancient humans might have seen them as spirits of the forest, gods of strength and endurance. Even today, the legacy of Megaloceros lingers in myth and legend. Many believe that tales of great stags from Celtic and Norse mythology were inspired by ancient memories of these creatures. The image of a giant, antlered beast, half spirit, half animal, wandering the misty forests of the old world. It all echoes back to this real prehistoric monarch. When the first well-preserved skeletons of Megaloceros were unearthed in Ireland during the 1600s, people thought they had found the remains of a mythical animal from old stories. Some even claimed it was proof of unicorns or creatures from the Bible. It wasn't until the rise of modern paleontology that scientists understood what they were looking at. The bones of a real Ice Age giant. Today, you can see their towering skeletons in museums across the world. The most famous displays show those massive antlers stretching out like wings. Silent reminders of a time when the wild was bigger, colder, and untamed. Every bone tells a story of evolution, adaptation, and loss. Of a species that pushed beauty to its limits and paid the price when the world changed. The Megaloceros was more than just a deer. It was a masterpiece of nature, a balance between strength and grace, survival and display. It stood as both a marvel and a warning, that even the most magnificent creatures can fall when their world transforms too fast. Its story reminds us that extinction doesn't always come from weakness. Sometimes it comes when nature's most beautiful designs can no longer fit the world that remains. This was Megaloceros giganteus, the giant deer of the Ice Age, the real stag of legends, and the last echo of nature's grandest experiment in beauty and survival.